For somebody who is completely new, I think that I would suggest that you try on a small scale if possible. You try some writing assignments, you try some editing assignments, and you can even do that on your own. You don't even need to, have any type of a position, but you can, take it upon yourself. Oh goodness, I think I'll try to write a small article about such and such. And you can look at other pieces of writing, even pieces that have been published, and think, oh, I'm going to try to edit this. Most people tend to naturally gravitate to either writing or editing, even though most people in medical communications do some of both for sure. But most people tend to like one or the other much more, and they tend to be better at one or the other much more. So I always encourage people to explore and try to do a little bit of both. Try within your professional association like AMWA or another group if you're with the National Association of Science Writers or Council of Science Editors or whatever it is. Definitely network and listen to what people say about their positions and see what appeals to you more. Because I think medical communications is such a diverse group as far as job functions that it's extremely valuable to talk to as many people as you can. Fortunately, most medical communicators are very willing to talk about what they do and how they got there. So I find it to be a community that shares a lot, and I think that's really beneficial for the medical communications profession overall. And the other thing I try to do that I would give as advice to people who are trying to transition is that if you don't have any work right now, you don't have anything, work on your skills. Work on your skills. And there are a lot of different ways to do that. But what you want to have happen when you get a job, you want to be very good. You don't want to give your clients something that's just okay.
Mm-hmm.
You want it to shine. As the freelance person, you are solving their problem. And if you can solve their problem and send it back to them and wow them with the quality of your work, they're going to come back to you. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think you don't have anything to do because you don't have any clients, you're wrong. You have plenty to do. You could, and that is not related to marketing. You could be marketing, but you could be networking. You can be working on your skills. You can be working on your own business infrastructure. There's a lot of things that you can do during quote unquote downtimes.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say the number one thing though is that just be very good at what you do. And the number two thing, I would say that what you want to deliver to your clients is good value. And I always tried to give my clients what they asked for, more than what they asked for. I want to do a great job. I want them to feel that they got their money's worth plus more.
Mm-hmm.
I'm never afraid to give somebody a little bit extra or work a little bit harder, to give them a little something extra just to build that relationship. Because I don't want to be marketing. I want to cultivate long-term relationships. And if I give them, I do something a little extra for them and I don't charge them for it, I call it a little bonus. It's another way they're going to want to come back to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a really great way of putting it, because if you were to hire someone yourself, like even a contractor or somebody, those things go a long way and you remember them. And you're more likely to talk about that person and say, what a great job they did and how impressed you were. It just naturally happens. And then other people are doing your marketing for you at that point.
That's exactly what happens. If you do, say a small project for somebody in an academic environment, freelancers in general, people don't know where to find us.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know where to find us. But if you do a good job for somebody and they're at a university and their colleague says, gosh, who did you get to work on this paper or who did you get to work on this guideline? Oh, well, so-and-so, you want to be recommended. And it's word of mouth. People don't know how to find freelancers. So you have to rely on the word of mouth. Then when someone knows about you, then they go to your site and they want to learn about you. They want to see some samples, all the things that we put on our websites.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to have that, but it isn't really an effective marketing tool, in my opinion. I think freelancers, it's reputation, it's word of mouth, it's visibility, and it's what you can offer.
Yeah, I completely agree. The website is like the icing on the cake,
It
when
is.
you're just right at that stage of kind of converting them, and they already know you and trust you and like you, and it's just a case of like reassuring them that I'm a
Right,
professional, I've done this before, and
right.
it's a no-brainer for them at that point. I think the last thing I would like to know is, during that 6 month period when you kind of establishing yourself as a freelancer, was there like a big learning moment for you where you realized if you had been focusing on something different, you might have it might have been easier, or maybe you approached things in a different way that you would have if you went back and did it again? Like, was there anything just from going through that that you learned that you would kind of say to someone else about to go into that to keep an eye out for?
Well, I think the thing that I'm a big believer in doing things in small steps so that you can kind of do a small thing and become comfortable with that, and then do your next small step and become comfortable with that. But I think that for people who are starting out, I think give some thought to originally how you're going to set up a structure for yourself. Are you going to have a dedicated office space? How are you going to manage the IT? What do you need as far as administrative materials and support? And think about that, because it really isn't that many things, but still getting a handle on what they are and tackling them in their own good time, I think is a smart way to do it.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything you just said. And I felt similarly too when I was starting, because the idea of building a website felt really overwhelming,
Yeah,
but you kind of figure it out. And there's always this kind of makeshift attempt when you first get everything going. And then you
right.
can always revisit and improve things later on. But I completely,
Absolutely.
yeah, completely agree. Like, we have to make it as simple and straightforward for ourselves as possible, because we're already going through a lot in terms of the transition and the instability and the change and everything that's happening. So if we can break it down and say, well, these are the handful of things that I need to get into place. Which one am I going to focus on today? And then, you know, eventually you start to see progress and it comes
Yes.
together, and you can go from there. But I think sometimes people look at it as a huge, mountain to climb, and they've never climbed that mountain before, which is where it can be helpful to have a coach or a mentor or somebody kind of guiding you